Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this lecture. This is the first time I'm doing this lecture. I just prepared a few days ago. So, based on your response, I'll know if to put it on the website or not. And I was asked to speak about scientific things, but not the things that everybody already heard. So I prepare a whole new lecture, something that probably nobody heard before. And Torah, it's like the ocean. All you have to do is just take a cup, take a little water. It didn't affect the ocean at all. You know, so much knowledge can prepare millions of lectures. It's just a matter of how much time you have. So like Stephen says, I want to thank the Sharifian family, not only for this lecture, for everything. In general, it's not enough to thank them. Thank you for hosting us here. And Hashem give them strength and Hatzlacha, and all the people who promote, constantly promoting. Baruch Hashem, I've been many times in Great Neck in the last few months. Hopefully there will be a lot more to come. Any questions you have, you can raise your hand. If I see it's proper in the middle of the lecture to allow question, it's fine. If not, in the end of the lecture. You can also ask me questions after. And let's start. As you all know, when we received the Torah 3,320 years in front of millions of people, there was the written and the oral Torah given to us by Hashem. As you probably heard in some of the other lectures, we are the only nation in history that have solid proof that the Creator of the world spoke to us. He told us how much we mean to Him, how much He loves us. He called us the children. You are my children. You are special to me. You're different than all the other Gentiles. You're representing me in a creation. That's why I have all kinds of restrictions that I gave you, because you're special. A prince cannot behave just like someone on the street, or a princess. And my reward to you, it's amazing. It's endless. If you're only going to listen to me and follow my laws, your reward will be for eternity. And therefore, all a Jew has to do in this lifetime is not to be ignorant, to learn a lot. Boys and girls, male, female, everyone has an obligation to learn. Now what to learn? Not only the written Torah. Most people in their lifetime, they invest many hours of learning in the written Torah because it's very famous to them. However, you should know that when we say Torah, we don't mean only written Torah, we mean written and oral Torah. There's nothing you can do in a written Torah before you checked carefully what the oral law says about it. The main part of Judaism is the oral laws that God gave us separately. It's not in the written books. However, since we are living in today's generation, many Jews that were born and raised in a non-Jewish environment, and they never received Jewish education from the day that they came to the world until today, naturally, it's very normal that they have many doubts and questions about the oral laws. Who made it? Maybe the rabbis brought it. Maybe every generation they made new laws. Maybe it's a man-made law. I understand the written Torah, the whole world is approving that God gave the Jews the Torah. The Goyim speaks about it in their own books. It's a famous event. But what about the oral laws, Rabbi? I want to make sure that when I follow the oral laws, this is really the word of God. I don't want to grind water. Grinding water, you achieve nothing. So everything I'm going to show you, almost everything, is based on the oral laws and science. I take what the scientific world found, and I show you that everything they found after investing billions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of employees overall, everything they did, we have inside our divine book. The Creator of the world told us those secrets 2,000-3,000 years ago. Jews already knew the things that the non-Jewish scientists finding in the last 300-400 years. Almost everything, every famous discovery, we can show you that it's either in the oral law, or the written law, or the Kabbalah, one of the three, but it's there. As we know, I know that the words are in Hebrew. It's more for me than for you, but I will translate everything, of course. The Torah starts right in the beginning in chapter 1, Genesis, Bereshit. The Torah says, Vayas Elokim et harakia. Hashem made the sky, what we call heaven in English, the rakia. Vayavdel ben hamayim asher mitachat larakia leben hamayim asher me'al harakia. Literally, this is what it means. There was water. Hashem took the water and separated them like two slices of bread, sandwich. He took some of the water, he elevated them all the way up to space, above the atmosphere. We have atmosphere that protect Earth. He took much water into the space, and some water left in this world, and that's the separation he made in the first days of the creation between the upper water to the lower water. That's the simple understanding. For those who didn't know what atmosphere means, as a part of the creation that allows us to live safely in this earth, we have a protection that God made above us, which is very crowd air, that automatically protect us from asteroids that are constantly falling on us. For those who didn't know, I just give you an example. If you take a person inside a room, a large room, and you put hundreds of people with machine guns, automatic machine guns, they're all standing in one line, and the mission of that person is to run from one side of the room to the other constantly, as fast as he wants. And the people with the machine guns have to aim to him and try to kill him with automatic weapon. Hundreds, we can say thousands of people. And they all shoot automatic. How long that person will survive? Not even a second. Before he makes his first step, they all kill him. This is exactly the ratio between Earth and all the other stars. There is rain of asteroids, pieces that some of them is almost big as New York City, New York State sometimes, New Jersey, big, large pieces that are constantly falling from other stars, from different galaxies, and they are falling directly towards us. Some of them just passing by. They are missing Earth. Some of them hitting Earth. But just when they're about to smash us to pieces, this atmosphere crushed them to pieces, and they fall like dust. Rain of dust on us, and we don't even feel it. Twice in the last 100 years, large pieces fell on Earth, that even after the atmosphere explode those main asteroids, still there was a large portion of it that hit Earth. Once in Arizona, it made 17-mile hole in the desert. If it would follow New York City, London, any one of the city, millions of people would die. Probably it would be the end of the market, the financial market. Who knows what would happen to the world. But with the supervision of God, he made sure it falls in an empty desert and made a huge hole inside the ground. 17 miles, like the size of Great Neck, more or less, hole in the ground in the middle of the desert near Arizona. That's not the first one. There's one who fell, don't get nervous, hey. There's one who fell in Siberia. I'm going to talk about it soon, many years ago, and I will explain why I'm talking about it, but let's move on. As we read in Sefer Tehillim, that was written approximately 3,000 years ago, it's a part of the 24 books of Judaism. We have from Bereshit until Shir HaShirim, 24 books. One of them is Tehillim, that was written by David HaMelech, Shlomo HaMelech, and some others. And this is what it says: Alleluhu Shmei HaShamayim. The sky, the heaven, has to praise God. Ve'amayim asher me'al hashamayim, and the water that above the sky, above the heaven, should praise God. What do we mean, the water that are above? Until recent, nobody in the scientific world believed that there is water above the atmosphere. Nobody believed in it. Where is this water, rabbis? They used to ask, the scientists. You, the Jews, claiming there is water in space. We send astronauts and spaceship into space. we never found any evidence of all this water. That's in the past. Today, they have plenty of evidence that the major stars that we know, either they're all one huge chunk of ice, or they are covered with tens of feet of ice. There's plenty of water over there. Today, they send all kinds of satellites and spaceship, and they land and they take pictures, and they come and they see how much ice on each star. Chazal, our sages, 2,000 years ago, this is what they said. Amayim ha'elyonim, the upper world, are standing in space according to the word of God. Which means God ordered this water to stay in space and not to fly anywhere, and to focus to stay around one area. Each water has to be in a different area. Not only that, those water are frozen like pieces of ice. Like ice cream, glidei kerach, where the word glida in Hebrew means ice cream. What's the source of this word glida? From the Gemara, glidei kerach. You see, glid. That means huge pieces of ice. There are billions of stars that each one of them is much, much larger than Earth, and they're all pure ice. And the Chazal already told us 2,000 years ago, when no human being was able to have such knowledge, unless if he received it from the creator of the world, they said that the water, the upper water, are much more than the water on earth. If you didn't know, this earth is a very large space. 72% of our world is water. If you look at the globe, almost everything is blue. 72% of the world is water. Ocean, so much water. How deep? So far they reached 8-mile depth from here to Queens. You travel down to the ocean, there's a lot of pressure, so it's very hard to get there, so they send rope with cameras, and they go, the rope was measured 8 miles. So much water in this world is not even a drop compared to the water outside of this world in space, above the atmosphere. Then, the last 40 years, the conclusion of the first slide is that obviously if a person would write the Torah or the oral Torah, he had no way to know that there is so much water and ice out of the atmosphere, unless if God himself told him the secret of the water. Okay, now the next thing that I would like to speak about is also coming from the Gemara, from the Midrash. This is what it says. Amar Rabbi Yoshua, Kol ha'olam mimayim elyonim hu shoteh. The world receives water, rain, from out of space. There are two kinds of rain. The rains that are coming from the clouds, and we all see, steams goes from the oceans. They create clouds. Clouds explode, rain falls, and it's a cycle. It's always like that. This is only the minority of the water that we're receiving in this world. Bepirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, approximately 2,000 years ago, everything I show you is at least 2,000 years old. Remember, in case I forget to mention it. In Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, chapter 5, the Chazal told us there are two kinds of rain. One comes, as we said, from the oceans. They evaporate and create clouds, and then it becomes rain. And the second kind of rain is when God wants to send his blessing to earth for the trees and the plants. He opens his special treasure. What is his special treasure? In heaven. And he sends this water into earth, and it gives blessing into the seeds in the ground, as we say in the Torah, Yiftach Hashem lecha et otzaro hatov et hashamayim. Hashem will open heaven, not the clouds, heaven. The Torah is very specific. And water will come from out of this atmosphere, out of the atmosphere. Where? Where is this water? Do we see it? Today, when you look, you ever see water comes from other stars to this world? So the answer is, in recent years, Scientists found an amazing fact for the source of the water in our world. You know the shooting stars that we all see sometimes, shooting stars? What exactly is a shooting star? God forbid if a star would shoot at us, we wouldn't be able to speak here. Shooting stars means crumbs, pieces that are falling from these giant stars that are made from ice. As they come close to the sun is 15 million degrees Celsius, more than 20 million degrees Fahrenheit, like we measure here in America. 20 million degrees, it's billions of billions of billions of light bulbs. You know, you hold the light bulbs, it's very hot. Multiplied by few billions and few billions and few billions, that's the energy in the sun. In the center, in the middle of the sun, the energy, as I told you, it's 15 million degrees. When you come to the edge of the sun is covered, as I'm going to show, with a special shell, 6,000 degrees Celsius. In Israel, 30 degrees Celsius is very hot day. Everyone is boiling. They need air condition. 30. 6,000 is the edge of the sun. When the stars coming closer, as they're all moving, just remember, they're all moving, and when they come closer to the sun, the edge of these giant stars beginning to melt. What happens when it's melt? There are water dripping, and they are trailing after the movements of the stars. They move very fast, and there are water who trail. And since the sun is also giving light, it's like a projector, you see fires, like lines of fire, and sometimes they go towards Earth, and that's what you see. However, what you didn't know, perhaps, is those asteroids of ice, when they enter the atmosphere, they crush, as they are big pieces of ice, the atmosphere crushes them to little pieces. By the time they reach the ground, they are pleasant rain. Some of the rains you see come from the clouds, which is all in Earth. Some of the rain come from stars, which is hundreds of years far from you, and become ice, as Professor Louis Frank from University of Iowa in 1996, it's here in the United States, I'm not sure where this university is, and it says this is not rain that comes from the cloud. How many pieces of ice coming to Earth every day? 30,000 pieces like this are falling on us every day. Every 3 seconds, one giant piece of ice hitting Earth, as I mentioned to you before with a machine gun. By why it doesn't fall on our back, on our head? Because Hashem made special protection around us. Not only it's not going to kill us, it's going to be the water that gives energy to the ground, and thanks to that we are able to eat, to drink, and so forth and so on. And how many altogether, the weight of all these 30,000 pieces that are falling, it's 600,000 tons every day of water. 600 a ton is about 2,200 pounds. 2,200 pounds is 1 ton. 1,000 kilograms, right? It's 2,200 pounds. It's a lot, right? You have every bottle of milk, it's like 2 pounds. So think about it. 1,100 bottles of milk is 1 ton. The numbers are tremendous. 600,000 tons falling water into Earth every day. And when they take picture from the spaceship Fuller in 1996, they see clearly rains of pieces, fires falling on us constantly, and this is all melted water that are eating our ground. Then, the next thing is, we all know that the Torah told us something that's, until today, it's very hard for us to digest. The Torah says, Chazal always say, when you buy furniture, used, when you buy clothing, when you buy things that belongs to other people, everything, every material have a special energy in it, positive or negative. Depend who you got it from. For instance, if you got it from a Chinese or Korean guy that worship an idol in his house, There's Avodah Zarah, or Indian that has a Buddha statue in his house, and you buy his furnitures. The Avodah Zarah is one of the major sins in the Torah, worshipping an idol. Even for Goyim, it's against the 7 laws that God ordered the Gentiles. One of the worst sins for Goy is to worship an idol, as they all do, most of them in the East. So when you buy from them something that they used to, not if they are traders, they sell it in the market, brand new stuff. That's a different story. But if it was in their house, everything has a special energy in it. Some of the Chachamim didn't even want to touch certain things that belongs to all these idols worshippers. Why do I tell you all this? That's not what I'm focusing on. What I'm focusing on is that Chazal told us something unbelievable. That what comes out of our mouth influences the material around us. It's very hard to understand. Material is one thing, and spiritual it's something else. What's the difference between material and spiritual? Since when words can change the energy of the material around us? Since when? Nobody can believe such a thing. Let's see what the Torah has to tell us about this and what science is discovering in this generation. The Torah says, the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, which is a great Kabbalist, he wrote that classic famous book that called Mesilat Yesharim, Path to the Just. And he says, if a person is addicted to the materialistic world and going far away from his Creator, he is spoiling himself, his own soul, and affecting the entire world negatively. But if he controls his desires and become righteous and become very close to his Creator constantly around the clock, and everything around him is being used only to help him to elevate his spiritual level and get closer to God, he is improving his spirituality, and not only himself, the entire world is improved with him, thanks to him. That's the words of the Ramchal close to 300 years ago, one of the greatest Kabbalists in history. The scientist, the Japanese scientist, Dr. Masaru Emoto, proved scientifically by a macroscopic measurement that waters that are in places that people say positive things and water that are in place that people speak derogatory language, curses and stuff like that, are influenced by the nature of the words that people speak in that area. How do they do it? They go to a spring, a natural spring, and they take drops of water, spring water. There's a big difference between spring water, the water that you get in a faucet. It's interesting because the Torah already said the power of the mikveh. A person with an impurity, I'm not talking about dirt. Dirt, you can go to the shower. You don't need a mikveh for that. Mikveh is the power of the mikveh is to remove a spiritual impurity from the person, which nobody can see. It can be clean and shiny and smells great, but it's completely impure. It can be very dirty, sweating, dirty, smells, everything, but very pure. One has nothing to do with the other. Make no mistakes. The Torah says which water is able to remove impurity? Only spring waters or rain waters. Natural water that gathered into a place naturally have a secret in them. They are able to purify your soul and make you closer to God. Very interesting. We don't see the connection. But that's what the Torah says. That's the power of the mikveh. It's a sentence in the Torah. When you take water from the faucet, it cannot remove any impurity. If a woman in a state of a period, in impurity, after a period, she went into a swimming pool, which is regular water that comes from a pump, it does not remove the impurity. Interesting. All right. So we all know that law. Let's see what this Japanese scientist found about the water. They took 2 drops of water, and they put that 1 drop of water in a room that people used to speak beautiful blessings in Japanese. It's work in any language. They tried French, Germans, English, different languages. He has a whole website. You can type his name. I can give it to you if you want after the lecture. It's very interesting. So they took the water and put it in a room when people used to be very nice. with patience, and they speak beautiful things, and they sang all kinds of nice songs. And then took the water and put it in another room that people cursed and were screaming and arrogant. What do? After they put the water for a while there, they take the water and freeze them in minus 25 degrees. 3 hours, they put it in very, very cold freezing freezer. Then they take the water and put it under a microscope. That microscope is 500 times, it makes it 500 times bigger. Obviously, when you look with the microscope into materials, all the molecules that you have, you begin to see things that you don't see with the naked eye. Cannot see. You look at wood, you look at plastic, you look at anything you can think of, stone, you don't see it. But if you take a microscope, which makes it 500 times bigger, and you see it, or you look at the leaves, you see all kinds of beautiful things, like the best artists in the world couldn't draw such beautiful pictures. But you cannot see it with the naked eyes. Try it. Take a leaf from a tree, take a microscope and look into it, you won't believe what you can see. From satellites, they have a special website that you can go and type an area, and the satellite magnified the area 1,000 times more, 1,000,000 times more, 10 million times more, and the more you get closer, that microscope, the lens of that satellite, is showing you a leaf from a tree, from how far it shows, and sometimes it shows that you look at the leaf, you'll never believe it's a leaf from the tree. It's unbelievable, the design inside each one of the things around us, what we're not aware of. So this, when they check the water that people spoke positively around it, what pictures they saw? Look, this is a drop of water when people spoke beautiful words next to it. This is a drop of water when people spoke nice positive words next to it. This is 2 drops of water that people were cursing around it. That's how they look in a microscope. The words that the water and the wood and everything around us here influence the material. Now I'm sure that none of you is convinced, but listen to this. When you review the story of the creation, how did Hashem create the world? Did he take a hammer from Home Depot and nails and drills and put his special pens and came to build our world? How many years it will take him to build Middle Neck Road? Huh? What do you say? So the answer is no. The answer is Hashem created the world by speaking. Which language? Not English, also not Persian, with all the respect. How Hashem created the world? This is the words he says. Vayehi or. It should be light. Shall be light. And all of a sudden there's light. And then Hashem say, I want the plants to grow from the ground. All of a sudden they begin to grow. So the words, the divine language, what we call today Hebrew, it's not so precise, because the Hebrew that we speak today, it's a mixture of few languages. It's a modern Hebrew. We are not speaking about the language that I'm speaking every day. We are speaking about ancient Hebrew, what we call Lashon HaKodesh, the original pure language of the Torah. It's very interesting. When I came to America, when I went to the shuls of the Ashkenazi people in Lower East Side, there are people that used to be 80, 90 years old. They came from Europe, and they don't know Hebrew. They never went to Israel. They never learned Hebrew anywhere. But they were speaking to me words from the Torah. For someone who grew and raised in Israel, the language is different style of language. I had to read the way he speaks. He's speaking to me verses from the Torah, in the original language of the Torah, because he doesn't know any other language. They don't know the modern Hebrew. They only know the original language of God, because they learn it from the books. Anyway, the idea was that God created the world with words, which mean words have power to control the material. Words have power to control the material. But not only the materials, words can control the angels. Words can control the demons. I just made a lecture a week ago in Brooklyn. It will be on the website in the next few days. What demons are. 6 different kinds of demons that we have in the creation. We cannot see them with the naked eye. but there are 3 kinds of demons that looks like angel, 3 kinds of demons that look like people. They even eat and go to the bathroom, and they die eventually. It's very interesting how it works. What demons are, you can go, I don't have time to go into it. But what does it mean, a Kabbalist that remove a curse from a person? He is making these demons, swearing them to leave that person. Or, God forbid, if a person has a sickness, they are able to use certain words to convince that spiritual image that making him the problem to leave him alone. Not that it's allowed always, not that it's recommended, because later on things can become worse. But we see from here the power of words to affect a person positively or negatively. This is another example. This is the Japanese professor that became very famous all over the world. He has a few websites, you can go. This is another positive and another positive, and this is a place that they curse all the time, non-stop. Look at the way the water looks. No symmetric, no nothing. But over here it looks like diamonds. Just imagine you want to buy a jewel like this. How much it would cost you, right? But this was made from the words of positive speaking. Next thing, this is the books that was published a few years ago. Primary, perception, and this is communication, right, with plants, with foods around us. Fruits, vegetables, trees. If I come to you and say, if somebody comes to you in a street and take a piece of carrot and break it to 2 and goes like this, oh, the carrot is suffering, is screaming, what will happen to him? You'll never want to be his friend ever again. This guy is crazy. Right or wrong? Completely crazy. I have news for you. 2,000 years ago, Chazal told us, Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, chapter 30. That's the source. Chazal says, in the time that you chopped a tree, you take an axe and chop the tree. That's how they used to cut trees. His screams goes from one side of the world to the other side of the world. The tree is screaming out of pain. Just imagine if you could hear his voice, what would happen? You wouldn't have houses. Why? Nobody will want to chop trees. How you build a house? You wouldn't be able to use trees. Let's make it clear. Certain things the eye of a person can detect, certain things the eye of the person cannot detect. For instance, I have a whole lecture, Life After Life, and at the end of the lecture I show spiritual pictures. What does it mean, spiritual picture? That means if I take now pictures of this house with pictures, with the audience here, it's very, very possible that when we develop the picture, we'll see Eliyahu Hanavi, the Baba Sali, the Ben Ish Chai, all the tzaddikim also in a picture, not on the wall, in space. But we don't see them right now. Sometimes we see other things in the pictures. I don't want to mention what. But in general, when you take pictures, the camera detects things that the eye of the person cannot see. Why? The frequency of the eye of the person is designed by God to see only the things that God's agreed that the person will have permission to see. God did not want us to see the angels around us. He didn't want us to see the demons. He didn't want us to see the souls of the people who are flying in space for different reasons. That's not the time to explain right now. But He designed our eye to be able to see only material, nothing spiritual. The Zohar says, the Kabbalah, the Zohar, 2,000 years ago, that if a person will be able to see 1 second what's around him, it will go crazy from the things that are around him that he never even dreamed that there are so many spiritual things around him, that they can see him and hear him. But he doesn't see them. However, dogs, cats, and different animals, their eyes, the lens of their eyes work in different frequency. So don't be surprised the next time when you sit in a quiet house and you read a book or anything like that, and all of a sudden the dog is jumping, barking, running around, going crazy, is crying in a corner of the house. And he looks around like this. And you can see right away someone is threatening him. How come you don't see anything and he sees? He sees spiritual things in a room which you cannot see. If you would see what he saw, you wouldn't be here anymore. But that's exactly the point. God didn't want you to see. So he made sure that we can see only what's good for our test in life. Also, the lens of the cameras, they can detect things that we cannot see. Also, when it comes to voice, the ear of the person works in certain frequency. But not everything around us we can hear. I'll give you an example. 30 years ago in the United States, one company became billionaires for one simple idea that they had. They used to sell dog's food. Dog's food. Just when they started with commercial 30 years ago, when it became in style, people saw that every time they display that commercial on television, all the dogs and the cats are running to the screen going crazy. They want to eat that food. Every owner of a dog, he loves his dog, sometimes more than his children, unfortunately. I've seen this. And he runs to the store to buy food for that dog. Which food he's going to buy? What he just saw in a commercial yesterday. In 1 year, they made fortune. Guess what happened in the end? The dogs didn't care about the food. They planted inside the commercial a special ring that calls the dog to come and see what is it, and makes them very happy. The ear of a person is not programmed to hear every sound in a creation. The dogs, the animals, the butterflies, everything that in nature has different frequency in his ears, like a bat. The bat, they know how to fly, they're blind, based on all kinds of noises that they hear, and their brain calculate where to fly based on the echo that they hear. They send voice, the voice comes back to them like a radar detector. And based on different frequencies in air, they know how to fly and not to hit the wall or anything like that. Because their ears is programmed according to their purpose in a creation. But after they found out that they planted a whistle inside the commercial, they made it against the law. Today it's illegal to do it. Also, they have other tricks in commercials that they do. Why? The person has conscious and subconscious. Most of the things we do in our life comes from our conscious. We recognize people, we speak to people, we learn things, we hear things. It's all conscious. Many, many things around us constantly go to our subconscious without us realizing about it. Tomorrow, when we're going to need it, it's going to come out of the back computer and we're going to be able to use it. This is what the brain of a person records from all his lifetimes. Also, there are pictures that the conscious cannot detect, but the subconscious can detect. I'll give you an example what I mean. One time they made a show in Israel on a television, and the guy comes on a screen and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to shock all of you right now." How? How I'm going to shock you? I want you to think about a number, and right after the commercials, I'm going to tell each one of you what number you thought about. How can it be? Millions of people. He's going to tell each one of them what number they chose. After the commercial, the guy came and he said, each one of you thought about number 23. And I looked at that and I thought at number 23. So I say to myself, well, that's something amazing. What's going on here? He said, hey, don't get overexcited. We will explain you now the trick. When the guy spoke in the first time and said choose a number, there were hundreds of people on the street running around behind him. Nobody paid attention to them. We all look at him when he speaks. Hundreds of people ran behind him. Just the second that he said choose a number, a guy with a Michael Jordan t-shirt passed right behind them, number 23, Chicago Bulls, but nobody saw it. And automatically at the second that you decided to choose a number, which number your brain detected? 23. All millions of people who watched it, all of them thought number 23. Why? This is the way the brain works. Why God made us like this? He doesn't want us to memorize billions of things that we see every day. It's going to go drive us crazy with all this information. Everything is recorded, but only the thing you need frequently, every day, are coming into your conscious. The rest are recorded. 20 years later, you find a friend from college, the computer send him into the conscious, you remember who this guy is. A minute before, you don't even remember that this guy exists. Only when you see him, the back computer send him into the front. Okay, so now Chazal says like this. Chazal says, once you chop the tree, his voice is traveling from one side of the wall to the other. And the Gemara in Masechet Kritut, page 6, the Gemara says, when they used to chop the ingredients, the spices of the ketoret, is a special thing they used to do in Bet HaMikdash, Pituma ketoret, we read it every day in shul. This is a part from the prayer. Omer adek etev, etev adek. She'akol yafel absamim. What does it mean? When they used to chop the ingredients, they used to speak to them. What's the connection? Oh, here you go. What's the connection? That's probably someone who doesn't know there's a lecture here. Just think that, is extra polite. Anyway, Anyway, looking at the door, I just saw the chandelier over there. Remind me a good joke for you. Since we have a timeout anyway. One guy, his wife asked him, what are you going to send my parents for the anniversary? Anniversary. So he said, what, I have to send your mother a gift now? I said, come on, don't be. So, all right, let's go to the store, we buy a chandelier. When they went to the store, they saw the prices of the chandeliers. He said, forget it, I'm not buying your mother such an expensive chandelier. So she said, what are we going to do? So I have an idea. He come to the owner of the store. He said, tell me, you have any broken chandelier, defected, that you cannot sell anymore? So the guy said, not really, but we have one chandelier that fell on the floor the other day. It's smashed to pieces. So, very good. I want to buy it. So the guy said, who wants to buy it? It's pieces. He said, don't worry. Pack it and send it to this address. Here is $10 for the pieces. Send it to my mother-in-law to this address. I'll take care of the rest. A week later, he gets a phone call. His mother-in-law blasting him on the phone. What happened? You should be ashamed of yourself. You're sending me a broken chandelier. What do you want from me? Blame the UPS. $3,000 I paid for it. You say, yeah? So how come each piece was wrapped in a special paper? Maybe the owner of the stores was Kurdish. I don't know. He's they went to buy one guy needed a brain. His doctor told him, listen, to train you will take years. Why don't you just go to the store and buy a new brain? So he said, okay. He went to the store and said, here, this is a special brain, Israeli jet pilot, $700,000, complete brain. This is a brain of a cardiologist, 30 years experience, $1 million. And this is another brain, $2 million, belongs to a Kurdish guy from the market. So he says, what's so special about this guy? Why it's so expensive? He said, no, that's a brand new brain. He never thought before. So when they open up the head, the guy wanted to check the merchandise from inside. So he saw 2 ears. What was inside? One wire connect between the ears. He cut it, the 2 ears fell down. That's a joke, All right, let's move. So the Torah says, Amar, Chazal told us, when you speak to the spices, smelly spices that give good smells, like perfumes and stuff like that, the more you speak to them, it's improved the quality of the smell. What's the connection? All right. But if you speak to the wine, when you're making wine, it's defecting the wine. It makes the wine not as good when you speak to the wine. So when they make good quality wine in France, in Italy, two things they make sure that will never happen. In the places when they make the wine, it's silence, nobody speaks to goyim. They don't know the Torah. But speaking next to the wine, damaging the quality of the wine, and they never permit women inside the facility. Not because they're prejudiced. Why? Because a woman in a state of impurity, in nida, if she stands in the same area where the wine is, it's damaging the wine, the quality of the wine. So in France, they have a sign. Someone that came from a factory told me, I saw a sign, no women are allowed. No offense, no women are allowed into the facility. By the way, the Torah already told us that 2,000 years ago. Now, the Torah tells us, Hillel HaZaken, Hillel, used to have 80 students. The smallest one out of all of them was the president of Israel in the destruction of the second temple 2,000 years ago. His name was Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, that lived 120 years until he died. 120 years. So the Torah told us that Rabbi Yochanan knew the language of the trees. Rabbi Yochanan was able to understand when the trees are communicating one with the other. How can it be? In one of my lectures, when I say that, one scientist came to me after the lectures and he said, you just shocked me completely. I say, why? He said, because I just wrote an article a few years ago about something amazing that happened in a forest. What? When you have many trees in orchards and in forests, each tree pays respect to his neighbors. The trees are expanding widely. Not once you're going to find a branch of a tree eating another branch of the tree next to him. If the branch will go a little bit to the right, the neighbor will go a little bit to the left. They're not going to go into the territory and hit one another. But if you take a tree and plant it next to your home in a siding, and the siding of the home is tree, the live tree will expand into the siding and make a damage. He doesn't have communication with the dead tree. That's a dead tree. And this is a tree that connected to his roots and is able to communicate. Sounds like, fairy tales. But let's see what the scientists have to tell us today. In the last few years, it's becoming more and more famous in the scientist community all over the world, a fascinating research about the life of the trees and the plants. What we think that has no feelings and no communication, it's all wrong. The opposite. Trees and plants having very strong feelings. Feelings. You can hurt their feelings. How? Let's see. They know how to express their feelings, such as pain and happiness and fear. This came in a British scientist magazine called Nature. Nature, it's about science in England. The research of Chandra Bosa, that's his name, a Goy, a world-known scientist that investigated the reflexes, the physical response of plants in a special laboratory in the valley of Maida. This is how he did it. He took a carrot that you cut hundreds of times in your life. I hope you're going to make salads after this. But after you're going to hear it, I'm not so sure. So I choose carrots. Not that many people likes it anyway. So you take a carrot. He took a carrot and he connected two wires into the carrot, into a special machine that draws responses. Once they chop the carrot, the needle that connects to an electrical machine started to move, and they also had a flashlight connected into that machine. that once you cut the tree, the carrot, a little light appears on the wall right next to them. They have a special wall. There's a flashlight. Every time they hurt the carrot responded with a special energy. Yes, we don't hear it, but we'll see what came out of this research. Very, very well-known professors did not believe the results of this research. When they saw that sophisticated system, how they took a cabbage and boiled it into boiling water. Once they burn it, once it was very boiling, the response of the cabbage was unbelievable. Just like a person, the way he responds before he dies. Lo alenu. Mamash like this, screaming, shrinking, moving around. We don't see it. But this is unbelievable response. But the ear of the person cannot see anything. It looks exactly like an animal that's about to die every second. He won a world rewards. He got a degree from England, from the Queen, and all this story. And then also at the same time in Russia, in Soviet Union at that time, the Russians found, and they published in the Pravda, famous newspaper, magazine, 20 years ago with a huge headlines. Plants are communicating. They scream, they communicate one with the other. And a research in Moscow, in Russia, they took a seed of wheat with the roots, boiled it inside boiling water, and it was screaming, and they measure the energy that came out from the response of the vegetables that they were cutting. It's interesting. Now, an American specialist, polygraph specialist, lie detector, one day he was bored. He started to play with the machine. He connected the machine, the electrolysis, into leaves of a big plant that was in his office. The plant responded right away. He checked it more and more and more, and the responses was even harder than before. He took a match and light the leaf of the plant. And before the fire touched the plants was responding, going crazy to him bringing the fire next to the leaf. So that means the plants in a house are responding to what the way the people behave. We didn't know that we have influence on the material around us. After that, it was published to 7,000 scientists, and let's see what the word of the Gemara about it. 2,000 years ago, when nobody dreamed that a tree has a feelings, when a plant has a way to communicate, this is the word of Chazal. The reason I show you all this, not that I came to teach you science. I don't want you to get the wrong impression, only for one reason. Why? It's a chain reaction. Step number one, my goal is to prove to every person that has doubts that the Torah, it's divine. Which means no human being was able to know information like this 2,000-3,000 years ago. No one. Only the creator of the plants and the trees and the stars and space and everything else. And then, after I pass this session successfully, when people begin to realize the Torah is divine, it's not people like me and you wrote it. It's all came from the creator of the world. I want people to open the Torah and see what's right next to it. To keep Shabbat, to put tefillin, to eat kosher, to be modest, and the rest. That's a chain reaction. When does a person wake up? As long as he thinks that the Torah, it's human book, people like me and you wrote it, as smart and intelligent as they may be, I'm better than them. They're not going to tell me what to do. That's the way people are. Wait a minute. It's God? It's a different story. I got to put my pride down. I have to review it in a different way. Why? It's divine. So that's the idea of this lecture. I got to make it a little better. It's the first time I show it. So here you go. The words of Chazal. One palm tree. Palm tree is the one with dates, right? Like they have in Florida, in LA. Okay, good. So the palm trees, not in New York. Palm trees, also in Vegas. At least one nice things they have over there. So, okay, now, The palm trees were not giving any dates. No matter what the farmers did to that. They improved it. They took the seeds, improved it in laboratory 2,000 years ago. Trying to improve the tree. They were cutting it, making all kinds of things. The farmers know how to make trees give more fruits. That fruit, out of all the trees, that tree refused to give any fruits. They came to the rabbis. Rabbi, what's going on? This is a tree refused to give dates. This is his answer. Amar lahem. What's his name? Rabbi Tanchuma. There's, we have Midrash Tanchuma after his name. Amar lahem Rabbi Tanchuma. דיקלי תמר ההיא רואה מיריחו והיא מתאווה בליבה. This tree fell in love with another tree in Jericho. I don't know where this story was, somewhere around Israel. It's in a mountain. That tree communicates with another tree, palm tree, in Jericho. Where is Jericho? When the Hamas and the Arabs are in control today. But 2,000 years ago, here is the proof. It belongs to the Jews. The rabbis were there. But anyway, so anyway, he told them that tree is in love. Tree. Wake up, it's a tree. The tree is in love with another palm tree in Jericho. Sending letters. Hi, how are you doing today? You know, we are a perfect match. They don't have problems in the family. Every family that I know today almost have problems, unfortunately. But the trees,
no problem.
We far away one from another. I'm not giving any fruit. I don't care. My wife is far away in Jericho. All right. So anyway, he told them, shh, take a piece from the tree in Jericho and merge their seeds together. You know how they used to do? They take a branch, they put it in the ground. They have a way. Today we do it all the time. All the fruits that you have, this is the way they do it. Just when they did it, the tree started to give thousands of dates. Right after years that it didn't give any fruit. This is information in the Torah. If you're still wondering if it's true or not, I'll give you another proof that you can prove yourself. What is it? Every plant that you plant in the ground, when they're soft, you need to take a special stick to support it. If you're just going to leave it, it's not going to grow. It's going to fall on the floor. You need to put it with a clip or something. It's going to stand for a while. Once it becomes thicker, it can rise straight up to the sky. That's how it is. That's, by the way, a hint from God about the education of our children. When the children is between 0 to 6 years old, it's like a soft plant. You can move it to the direction you want. Once it grows, it becomes independent, thicker. It's very difficult to change your children when they're 6, 7 years old, watching 5,000 cartoons and Bruce Lee and Ninja and all these things. Now you want to make your son a rabbi? Forget it. It's not a plant anymore. It's a tree. Tree, he moves into his own direction. But anyway, so this is what it is. This is the way it works. Every time you have a plant, the plants need a support. How the plant's gonna know which stick to stick to? Try. Take a stick, and once it's growing and expanding, it needs another support. Put 3 sticks next to it. He's always gonna go to the closest stick to him. How does he know? It's a raw material. What is it, a plant? You put a plant, you put 3 different sticks, or even houses. You know these weeds that grow on the side of the house? Which house they're going to go to? To the one who is closer to them. Why? They can see around what's happening. That's, by the way, what the Torah says, Ki Adam etz hasadeh. A person is exactly identical like the trees. Never understood this. Now I understand it a little more. Yes?
The thing that Rabbi Tanchuma said is not shatnez though.
Which one?
How we said to put the trees together.
No, if it's the same brand, no problem. Only when you mix it with another brand. 900. Shh. I'm talking a little bit about the Bermuda Triangle. I said, Bermuda? Well, in Hebrew it sounds different, you know. So, the Bermuda. Maybe next year I'll learn the word. The triangle near Puerto Rico, you know. So, let's see. Attention. Oh, where did I go? Okay, here you go. Here you go. In the last 40 years, many boats and airplanes disappeared between Miami, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda Islands, which is the famous triangle that we all speak about. Thousands of people disappeared and died in this area. And until recently, nobody knew what's the secret over there. All kinds of ancient nations were thinking this is the gate of hell, this is the entrance to the world to come, and many other stories about that area. Nobody knew to explain what's going on there. There are many assumptions. There is earthquake maybe underneath, all kinds of things, but today they found out there is very strong magnetic fields in this area, that everything that is made from metal, iron, is sucked down into that area and disappeared. And nobody knows what's going on. There's many stories of people, what they saw there, people who got saved from there. I don't have time to start reading some of the things they say that they saw. What I'm focusing about is the Gemara said that there are 903 different kinds of death in the creation. There's many ways to die. A person can go to sleep, he doesn't wake up in the morning. That's the easiest death out of 903 different kinds of death. Which one is the worst? The Torah says, we don't have it, Baruch Hashem, anymore. In the old days, it used to be a sickness, lo alenu, that it begins, it's like a cancer in the throat, lo alenu. It begins to grow inside the throat of a person until it blocks his pipes completely. And he cannot breathe, and it eats him from inside, God forbid, and that's how people used to die in the old days. Baruch Hashem, today we don't have it. Nobody reported this sickness in the world today. We have other things, but 903, the Torah told us, God made 903 different kinds of ways to take the soul from a body and remove it to the next world. Okay, now the Gemara says, the Gemara begins to talk about this, and then the Gemara all of a sudden, out of nowhere, gives an example from a place in the ocean. Place in the ocean. Let's see. And then the Gemara gives an explanation right here, and this is what it says. Oceanus, an ocean that cannot receive any metal. If you're going to go with metal to that area, it's your end, the Gemara says. This is close to 2,000 years ago. The Gemara says, so the sailors that wants to pass in this area have to make sure that they make their boats without screws or nails. They have to tie it together with special ropes that close it, and then they put tars in the bottom, like Noah made his ark, without anything metal. If they're going to have something metal inside the boat, in the bottom of the boat, they're not going to be able to go in that area in the water. Rashi, 900 years ago in France, we all know Rashi. Rashi says, what's the connection between speaking about the sickness in the throat to the triangle in the middle of the ocean? What's the connection? The answer is, the same way that you have to make your boat and make sure you don't leave any hole in the bottom, because you cannot use nails. It's very difficult to make it with ropes. You have to make sure, it's very difficult. But eventually, if you're going to block your boat completely, then you are safe. This is what the disease does to the throat of a person. Slowly, it blocks the pipe until there's no way to breathe. So that's what the Gemara is speaking about. Why do I read you this? Because this is exactly what the scientists are saying today. What's the reason for all the airplanes and the boats that disappear there? Magnetic fields. That's why they mark this area. Nobody goes there. Why? If you want to stay alive, you don't go. The question is, who was able to know about it 2,000 years ago? Unless if the creator of the world. The next thing is, when you go to college, the professor will teach you that Galileo Galilei had a telescope in 1608, and he raised this telescope to the sky. It was 6 feet wide. And that telescope, for the first time in history, they realized there's many more galaxies that we couldn't see. What they don't tell you is that 2,100 years ago, the nation of Israel had a rabbi called Rabban Gamliel. He was the president of Israel. And he was a grandson of King David. He is from the descendants of King David. From them the Mashiach will come. And this is what the Gemara, right here, Talmud Bavli, Masechet Eruvin, page 43. If you want to see it yourself, open the Talmud, Eruvin 43. Shfoferet הייתה לו לרבן גמליאל. Rabban Gamliel, this rabbi had a special tube. He used to look into the tube and see people from 2,000 amma on the ground and 2,000 amma in the ocean. 2,000 amma, it's 1 kilometer. 1 kilometer on the ground, 1 kilometer in the ocean, it's 2 kilometers. It's approximately 1.5 miles, which is about 20 to 30 blocks in Manhattan. So if you're standing in Upper East Side and you want to see the entrance to Queensboro Bridge on 2nd Avenue there, it's about 30 blocks, from 90 to 60. If you stand like this, are you able to see 30 blocks away? You cannot see 2 blocks away. He used to have a special tube. He used to look at the people and see them from 1.5 miles away. What is it if not a telescope? 2,100 years ago, the rabbis had a telescope. They never got the credit in Harvard University. So maybe if you know anyone, tell them to change their archives. When we ask in college, who is the first one who discovered that the world is round? The answer always is Christopher Columbus, which was a Jew. But anyway, yes, he comes from descendants of Jews. The Christians, in the Christian Inquisition, they forced Spanish and Portuguese Jews to become Christians. You have no idea what they used to do to them in the basement of the churches. They used to rip them apart. They used to pull the head and the hands and to pull the legs until the body rips to 2. That's how they used to do to the people who didn't want to become Christians. But, by the way, they made a special DNA exam in Spain and in Portugal. That's what I always say. Baruch Hashem, I was right. 1 out of 10 Spanish Europeans have a DNA of a Jew. Of course. 500 years later, what do you expect? If you have, I don't know, 50, 60 million Spanish people, and another, I don't know, 20, 30 million Portuguese, let's say 100 million people, about 10 million of them are Jews. But they don't even know about it. Huh?
I didn't know the DNA of a Jew.
Oh, you wait and see until I'm going to show you the DNA of the Kohanim soon. We can even know who's a real Kohen and who's not with the DNA. But before we get to the Kohanim, yeah, it's very, thank you. I was thinking to myself for the last hour, is it a sauna here or it's only me? Is it here or it's only me? Is it me? Until she answered my question. Maybe they lower the heat, and like this it will be easier. But in the meantime, stop. Stop, ya habibi. There is a, יכול להיות שיש שם מקל.
You like steam room or sauna?
No.
We have 2 little windows underneath.
2 little windows. I know underneath. All right. Shh. The heat. You have heat here? You have heat? Lower it. We don't need it. It's 45 degrees. All right. Shh. The Gemara says, shh. היושב על חוג הארץ. Thank you very much. Christopher Columbus. Shh. Please, time is running out. I didn't show you a third of the lecture yet. Don't worry, we'll finish the other 2/3 faster. Worst comes to worst, we'll meet again. All right. Shh. Baruch Hashem for the air. One rabbi It was a very hot day. So he got his daughter. She had a special thing that she used to make hair for him. And for that, he used to give her perfumes. He used to take leaves, squeeze the leaves, make a few drops of perfume, mix it with some water, and he used to give her perfume. This is 2,000 years ago. Armani perfume, made in Babylon. Anyway, made in Gaza. Anyway, so anyway, what do you think? Revlon and Estee Lauder invented perfume. The rabbis already had perfumes. They bought their daughters gifts. But one time it was a great breeze came to his face. So he told his daughter, wow, just for the little air that you make me for the last hour, I have to squeeze a whole bottle for you. Just imagine how much I owe God for this breeze. All right, anyway, we take it for granted. But anyway, Galileo did not find that the world is round. The Jews always knew about it. The prophet Isaiah, Yeshayahu, 2,600 years ago wrote that the world is round clearly in his book. Why do you need to argue for 2,000 years if the world is flat or the world is round? Just open the prophet right here in front of you. Yeshaya chapter 40. היושב על חוג הארץ ויושביה כחגבים. Rashi, 900 years ago. חוג, round, campus, round, circle. The world is round. Rashi was 450 years before Columbus. In case you have doubts about the prophet, the answer is you don't even need to go that far to the prophet because Rashi himself spoke about it. Circumcision. We all circumcise our babies in the 8 days unless if they're yellow or they're sick or anything like that. It never occurred to us why God chose the 8th day. Why He did not make circumcision a month later? Why He didn't make circumcision right away, the day of the birth? The answer is, this is what the scientists found. In research that was published in New York, 1953, they found that we have vitamin K in our body. Vitamin K is responsible to clog wounds by making the blood harder, and the blood automatically block any cuts that we have in our body. This is the way the system works. However, not that many people knew that when a baby is born, he has few percent of vitamin K in his blood. Second day, he has more. Third day, more. Based on how mature is the liver. The liver is where the blood comes from. Liver in Hebrew means kaved. Kaved means heavy. That's the heaviest organ in the body of a person. From 613 organs, from 248 organs that we have, now you can close the window. I look at the people here, I know, but for me it was great air condition. Anyway, so every day there's extra vitamin K. When the 8 days arrive, the baby is going to have 100% vitamin K from now until the last day of his life. However, please. However, when they get to the 8th day, something remarkable is happening. Only one day in the life of the human being, he has extra 10% of vitamin K in his blood. One day out of all his lifetime. When? The 8th day. Coincidence. What a coincidence, huh? The rabbis knew about vitamin K 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago. Who told us to make the circumcision in the 8th day? God. Why? He knows. We don't know. Now we know. One of the reasons that there's extra vitamin K in the body, I knew that I said that I'm going to give some time for questions, but you know what? I'm so behind. If everybody will ask me questions, we won't make it. So, all right, now, I'm even going to have to skip some of the things. We know that when the world was created, everything was one continent. There was earth and water. That's it. No oceans, no lakes, no rivers, none of these things. Later, the earth broke to pieces, like a puzzle. Some of the pieces shift to the east, some of the pieces shift to the right, over a period of 5,769 years, 70 years almost, 5,769 years. In case you have a doubt if the world is older than that, go into my website, divineinformation.com. I put 2 scientific films from the Goyim, from the non-Jews, that prove that the world is only a few thousand years old. In case you had a doubt. They prove, listen to what they have to say. I'm sure you're never going to believe that the world is millions or trillions of years old. But let's go. This is what we have to see. Alfred Wagner lived from 1880 to 1930. Short life, 50 years. That's it. He is the first one. Geolog? How do you say? Geologist? Oh, very good. Geologist Alfred Wagner wrote in his book about the continents and the oceans that everything used to be one continent and broke and separated to 7 different ones. In case you wondered, the Torah says, Vayomer Elokim, God says, Ikavu hamayim mitachat hashamayim el makom echad. All the water should go to one place. That means there was earth and there was water. Not many pieces of water. Later, after the continent broke and they shifted, in between you have water. But before, it was dry place and a wet place. That's it. And the Zohar, 2,000 years ago, one continent. Really. And the water, and from there it became 7 continents. How did they know? Wagner wasn't there yet, 2,000 years ago. The Zohar knew about it. It was one that later became 7 different ones. Some of the Ashkenazi Jews, their name is Wagner, but some of the German Jews, their name is also Wagner. I just got an email from one non-Jew this week, Wagner, and is trying to become a convert. Somehow I have more success with the Goyim than with my brothers. My brothers don't want to become religious, but the Goyim, they don't leave me alone. Anyway, 1776. You recognize this guy? Huh? Print out what? I print it out. Come on. I have much better idea for you. Later you come. All right. Now everyone will stay until after the lecture. You see? Anyway, you see this old $100 bill? Who is this guy in the picture? You know him? Franklin. You heard about him? Franklin was who? The President of the United States. I just wanted to see if everyone is asleep. Franklin was a major scientist. What did he find that we give him so much credit? He found that in the top of every building, you have to put a piece of metal to protect the building from the lightning. He knew that lightning always hits in the highest area. It always goes to the highest point. Whenever he detects metal, that's when the lightning goes to. You see sometimes sparks from the top of the buildings in Manhattan. So he knew, if you want to take the lightning away from your animals, from your sheep, from your horses, make sure somewhere in your village, put a very high piece on a roof of something, a piece of metal, and you are automatically protected. Very, very clever. What can I do that now we have to take his picture out of the $100 bill? Anyway, it's not the $100 bill anymore. But in case it was, we had to take his picture out and put each one of our rabbis inside. Where we're going to have room for all of them, I don't know. But this is the language of the Gemara, of the Tosefta. Shh. Akliya, that's what we call barak, lightning. Shh. Kliya. Anoten barza ben ha'efrochim. The sages, the rabbis are speaking, about magic, black magic, if Jews are allowed to do it or not. There are all kinds of magics that we can do, like the Goyim used to do. Some are allowed, some are not allowed. The Torah says that we're not allowed to do it. How do we know which one is legal and which one is not? So this is the word of the Torah. The Torah says, someone who put pieces of metal around his chickens, he grows chickens, and he puts metals around it, he puts metals in between them, it's not allowed because this is the way of the Amori. The Amori, one of the filthiest nations of the Gentiles in the old time. The Torah already speak about them negatively. One of the 7 nations that were waiting for Israel to come when they occupied the land. Aprizi, Amori, Girgashi, all these names, Aknani. But if he does it to protect the chicken from the lightning, is allowed.
Why would they put it?
You got it or not?
Why would they put that?
Let's take Franklin out of the $100 bill and give the credit to Chazal. It's not fair. I will explain. Shh. If you put a piece of metal in between or around the chickens, that will make them give birth double. That's a magic. That's what the Goyim used to do. All kinds of magics. You know how Yaakov Avinu fooled Lavan? Lavan told Yaakov, he told him all the specific ones who were born like this will be mine. The ones who were born without stains will be yours. Yaakov went and put special sticks with all kinds of stains, and when the sheep used to come to drink, they used to have relation between the male and female. And when a female is becoming pregnant, everything that she sees affecting the shape and the color and all of it of the baby. For instance, the Gemara says Rabbi Yochanan was a very handsome man. Very handsome. Very pretty face he had. He used to sit in the entrance to the mikveh. When the Jewish ladies used to come to the mikveh, after the mikveh they used to go home to their husbands. He wanted them to look at his face. Chachamim asked him, why are you sitting in the entrance? And this is one of the holiest people in history, which I told you before. 10 of his children died. It didn't bother him. When his chevruta that he was learning Gemara with him died, he became crazy. He couldn't survive without Torah 1 second. He used to go to comfort people in their homes when they lost their child. He used to bring a bone, or actually a tooth, from the body of his last son. 10 of his children died. The last one, he took a tooth out of his mouth, and he used to come to the people and say, you see this? This is a souvenir from my last son, out of 10 that I lost. So you lost 1, I lost 10, and I'm strong with faith in God. Don't let your spirit go down. One guy came to the Klausenburg Rabbi, and he said, Rabbi, they killed my son in the Holocaust. So the Rabbi and him, that was in Union, New Jersey. After they came from Europe, they came to Union, New Jersey, and they established a community there. This was a very holy, special rabbi, the Klausenburg Rebbe. So what happened with him? The guy was crying, and the Rebbe is crying. After half an hour, they're sitting and crying. The guy tells the rabbi, wait a minute. Why are you crying for me? I only lost 1 son. You lost 10. 11 of your children they killed. You crying for me? I should cry for you. The rabbi said, God forbid. I don't have any problem with this. So why are you crying for me if you don't have a problem with this? In your level, you are suffering so much. I participate in your pain. Jews are brother. You have to feel the pain of the other. So I see that you're suffering so much. That's why I'm crying. I never cried over it. I know whatever happened is for good. What happened with him? When he came in a boat with his student,
Why did you see him?
he had hundreds of students with him. And he had 1 pair of tzitzit extra. Shh. 1 pair of tzitzit. He told his students, I want to give this tzitzit to one of you, but I don't know to which one. I love all of you equally, but I have only 1 pair. So I'm going to make a lottery. Everyone will choose a number, and the number that will win will get the tzitzit. Every second is mitzvah, tzitzit under the clothes. One guy jumped, and he ripped his shirt from the sides. he ripped it all open from here, and he ripped it all open from here, and he said, Rabbi, now you must give it to me. I have 4 corners to my shirt. And that's what the Torah says. Once you have 4 corners to the shirt, you must tie the special strings, the tzitzit. Now, I have an obligation from the Torah. Since you are my brother, you're not going to let me go every second with the sea, no? That's the only shirt I have. I came from the boat. The Rabbi told him, you have a good point, but I already announced that I'm making a lottery. You're not going to make me a fool in front of everyone like a liar. But don't worry. If you're such a tzaddik, if you're such a righteous Jew as you look, if you deserve the tzitzit, your number's going to come out of the lottery. And he wrote in his book the story. From hundreds of people, his number came up. That's when a Jew wants to show Hashem that he's crazy about his mitzvot. Hashem, I love your mitzvot. Hashem, from hundreds of people, got his number up. The only shirt he has after this terrible Holocaust, he ripped to pieces, just that he will have the merit to make a mitzvah. And that's why his number came up. Let's go back to the subject. So they used to do all kinds of magic, putting medals in between the sheep and the rest automatically makes them give birth to more. That's what happened in the time of Yaakov. Lavan was fooling him, stealing away his money. So Lavan tricked him back to get what he deserved. Yaakov tricked him back to get what he deserved by making the females look at something special. Rabbi Yochanan says, I want the ladies to see how pretty I am, that they have pretty children. And they ask him, you're not afraid of Ayin Hara? After all, when people look at pretty girls and pretty guys and they give them compliments, the Ayin Hara affect their health, affect their parnasa, affect their beauty, affect everything. You're not afraid? So he said, I know that I'm a descendant of Joseph. And the blessing of Joseph in the Torah, that Ayin Hara cannot damage him. So we learn from many places in the Torah that what people see affecting their babies. By the way, speaking about babies, the Torah already says, we're going to see that next. You know, maybe we'll get to it in a minute, but let's first see this. You know, Edmund Halley, how do you say? Halley? Eliyahu Hanavi, Halley. Edmund Halley. What's special about him? The encyclopedia say that he was the first one who calculated that we're about to get a star that called Halley's Comet. That star in 1758 appears 70 years earlier. And he said that based on the cycle of that star, every 70 years... I should stop right here? Or I have 10 more minutes? You're tired? I have more? Oh, it's up to you. Okay. So he calculated that 70 years ago that star came. And he told them, you wait and see that 70 years from now you're going to see the same stars. And today it's a scientific fact. However, we have to erase his name from the encyclopedia and change the name of the stars to who? To Rabbi Yoshua. You should call him the star of Joshua. I hate this name, Joshua. Yoshua. All these names in English. All of a sudden I became Joe. How are you doing, Joe? Sometimes people call me, they want to sell me something. How are you doing, Joe? All right. Anyway. All right. Two rabbis, Rabbi Yoshua and another rabbi went on a boat. The other rabbi brought wheat to make a dough to make pita bread. Rabbi Yoshua brought solet. How do you say solet? Not barley, solet. It's a different kind of flour. They make spelt. No, not spelt. They make all these soft cakes with that, sweet cakes. The Persians use it a lot. Not flour. Doesn't matter. A different ingredient kinds of dough. After a few days that they were in the middle of the ocean, everybody ran out of bread. Why? Because the boat made a mistake. the boat lost their direction. They used to look at the stars, and based on the stars, the sailors, the captains, used to find remember, there was no compass, no all this equipment that we have today, radars and all this. So they used to go by the stars and know how to go from here to Europe, from Europe to Israel, whatever. So he told him, how did you know to bring this flower, that it stays fresh for a longer time? Usually you always bring regular flowers. So he told him, once every 70 years, there's a stars who rise in heaven and confuse all the captains of the boats. And I knew it's today. That's why I knew he's going to make a mistake, and I knew to bring extra food, whatever. How did he know? Once every 70 years. The next things, just when I'm just about to finish, Tanura Banan. 3 partners in a creation of man, of a baby. His father, his mother, and God. His father gives the white into the body from here, from that material, the bones, the ligaments, the nails, the brain, and the eyes, the white inside the eyes are created. The mother gives the red, the father the white, the mother gives the red. From that red material, the flesh, the skin, the air, the pupils inside the eyes are created from the mother's chair. And God gave the spirit, the soul, the image of the face, the ability to see, the ability to hear, the ability to speak, to walk, wisdom, and intelligence. That's the ingredients that God contributed to the creation of a baby. Once the time for a person arrives to die, comes God and takes his share back. That's why there's no intelligence, no ability to walk, no ability to talk, to hear, to see, none of these things. And leaves him the parts that he got from his mother and his father. A special genetic research by Professor Karl Skoretsky. They found a mutual gene in Kohanim, in Jewish Kohanim. Regardless whether they Ashkenazi, Sephardi, Persian, Bukharian, Yemenite, Tunisian, Polish, whatever you want, even though there was 2,000 years without communication between them, more even, when they examined them, they saw that they have a gene that other Israelites do not have. 70 to 80% of them have a special gene, which means 20 to 30% of the Kohanim that you kiss their hand in shul are faking, not their fault. Sometimes in the past, their parents bought the title of a Kohen by bribing someone. Don't get angry at me. I didn't say who. Only Mashiach will say who. That's what Rambam says. When Mashiach comes, he's going to say who's the real Levi and who's the real Kohen. Why people wants to be Kohen? What? That they want to do Birkat Kohanim in shul to get, I'm giving bracha for the people? No. Actually, I know one guy, he arrives exactly to Birkat Kohanim. Say, why don't you come to pray? Not only. Say, no, I know, I have Birkat Kohanim. It's 7:45. I arrived, he first come, he makes Birkat Kohanim, then he puts his tefillin. Anyway, why the Kohanim used to fake? Because it was a great business. You don't have to work. You work in Bet HaMikdash, you work in Grill Point, shish kebab from morning to night. Kolbe, whatever, Danny's restaurant. Did I mention everyone? Baruch Hashem. So now, you smell shish kebab and steaks from morning to night. People bring you 10% of their wheat, 10% of their barley, 10% of their animals, every firstborn, the leathers from the cows, you make tefillin with that, you sell it to the factory, they make all kinds of things with that, mezuzot, sefer Torah, you make a very good business. For eating steaks all day and slaughtering some animals, you have money coming from all over. So people wanted to be Kohanim. By the way, did you realize that none of the Georgians is a Kohen? Georgian Jews, you don't find one Kohen. Two possibilities. We know in history, hundreds of years ago, there was a nation of Goyim that all converted to Judaism after they had a philosophical debate between the rabbi, the priest, and the Muslim Qadi. After the Jews, of course, won the argument. In case you didn't see, go into my website, the debate with the Christian priest, Christianity versus Judaism, divineinformation.com. You can see what Christianity has to offer. A religion that was written with the first grade intelligence. And I'm not exaggerating. Full of mistakes and contradiction. Full. But anyway, there's a whole nation that converted. I usually remember where I stop, even though it's the hardest part in the lecture. It's the hardest one. I used to have a rabbi, we used to call him the king of the reverse. Melech HaReversim. Why? He goes out of the subject for 2 hours. 2 hours later, he asks, how did we get here? We started with Moshe, we arrived to the stock market. He was the only one who can go reverse and always remember how we came out of the subject to not to return. It's unbelievable. As a holy man, Anyway, so it could be that they are from this nation that converted to Judaism. When a nation of Goyim become converts, they have no Kohanim. Convert cannot become a Kohen. However, the Georgians get offended when this is the theory you brings. They have another explanation for it. And their explanation is, since the Georgians still were in the area of Russia in the time when we built the second temple, they didn't want to move to Israel. So they sent all the Kohanim to Israel. They said to the rabbis of Israel, okay, we're not going to come to help to build Bet HaMikdash, but since we have Kohanim and you need Kohanim in Jerusalem, all the Kohanim of this area we will send. And therefore, all the Kohanim went, and then in the next few generations, they didn't have Kohanim. I disagree with this, because I'm sure there was some defected Kohanim with a broken part in the body, or all kinds of birth defects, and those are anyway cannot be Kohanim in Bet HaMikdash. So at least 100 of them should have stayed in Georgia. And from them, you should have had a lot. So therefore, I don't buy that theory, but it doesn't matter. Nobody really knows scientifically. But it's very interesting. They have no Kohanim. Persians, half of the shul goes to the stage. Bukharian, 75%. Everyone Kohen in the shul. Aliyat Rishon, everyone is fighting for. Other places, whatever. Baruch Hashem, holy nations. As Rabbi Aderet says, from all the nationalities, the Persians are the best. From all the places he saw, that's what he said. All right, anyway, shh. The Torah says, shh. That's why I opened up a shul here, no? All right, anyway, shh. This is, I think, the last one for tonight, because I don't want to steal the entire night. So, the Torah told us things about the baby. What did the Torah say? Before we go into the Torah, Professor David Leger published a book, Playing with Life. It was published in 1983, page 43, that's the source. This is what he writes. We, the scientists, do not know enough about the development of the brain of the baby. In reality, we assume, we choose, that any date from the 40th day of his life, approximately, this is when the brain completely finished to form and became complete. And then we begin to see waves inside the brain. When? From the 40th day, approximately. Very nice. This is 1983, 20-something years ago. This is what Chazal told us. Amapelet leyom 40, a woman that became pregnant and God forbid had a miscarriage. The miscarriage, losing the baby, she doesn't have to worry about impurity within 40 days. Or wasn't a human being yet. From the 48th day and on, in the pregnancy, it's a complete human being. Brain waves, pulse, feelings, nerve system, tasting, everything you want after 40 days. Which means Most women that became pregnant, not intentionally, by the time they find out that they are pregnant, let's say 10 days after the period does not appear, it's already right there, 40 days. God forbid if they go and do an abortion, that's already when it's a complete human being. Soon I'm going to show you how do I know, but this is what the Torah says. And the Rambam says, after the 41st day, after the completion of the 40th day, if then she had a miscarriage, she has to keep days of impurity for the male and for the female and for periods, for nida, impurity of nida. She has, the Torah says how many days she has to be pure and then go to the mikveh. Okay, we're not going to go into the details now.
As if she had the baby?
As if she had the baby. You know, a woman that gives birth to a baby, she's impure. Her husband cannot hug her and kiss her. You know, okay, now, shh. So, the baby creation is 40 days. Up to 40 days is not a complete human being yet. This is giving you a little bit example. Right here is smaller than a quarter. Right here. Look here. Look here. Look at the baby. Okay, now, in the 3rd month of the pregnancy, in the 90th day of the pregnancy approximately, the scientists made an experiment. What's the experiment? They injected a needle into the mother womb and pinched the baby on his nose. Not a sharp needle. They touched the nose and they watched everything in a sonogram. The baby moved his face to the left. What do we learn right away? That his nerve system is perfect. In the 3rd month of the pregnancy, most abortions are after the 3rd month. So his nerve system is working perfectly and he moves his hand to the left, his head. They repeated 4 times. In the 5th time, before the needle touched his nose, he already moved his head to the left. Which means not only his nerve system is working, his brain is functioning like a normal human being. He saw the danger. He already learned. Oh, this needle is pain. He already moved he's protecting himself by moving his nose away from the needle. That's in the 3rd month of the pregnancy. The second experiments they did, they injected sugar into the mother's wound, the water. The baby drank exactly double. You know, he's drinking from his mother. They already like Coca-Cola before they created. What's going on here? They like sweet. Oh, very good. One of the biggest mistakes when you come to someone's house for Shabbat is giving Coca-Cola to the kids. Some places they're not allowed the kids to have poison like this. It's enough you give them the forbidden drink and you make the mother miserable for the rest of her life. Every minute now he wants cola. He doesn't want milk. He doesn't want water, a bottle. He wants cola. That's what he's crying for. This is the way a baby is functioning. Anyway, so he drank double. Then they realize when the mother is sleeping, he sleeps. When she's up and running, he's up and running. The musics that they listen to improve or disprove their intelligence. Made it better or not? And the best part is the smoking. In case you become pregnant, hopefully, B'ezrat Hashem, be very, very careful never to dare to smoke in the time of the pregnancy. Today I don't believe people dare to do it, but until 30 years ago it was a common thing. What happens when a mother smokes when she's pregnant? When she smokes, the nicotine of the cigarettes goes right away into the blood and goes all over the organs, all over. And a part of it goes to his mouth, to his system. Everything, if one affects the other. Once she begins to smoke, the baby moves, shrinking his head like this, and you see right away that he suffers tremendously in the time of the smoking. However, it became even more interesting that they made an experiment and they told the woman, and the next time, before you reach your hand to touch the cigarette, please signal to us that you're about to take a cigarette. We want to check if the baby is communicated to your brain and is able to read your thoughts. And guess what? Just when she signaled, he was already shrinking. before she even moved to touch the cigarette. And this is the words of Chazal 2,000 years ago. Everything the mother say, the baby hears. Everything she think, he also understand. He sees everything around him. He's able to communicate even though he's inside. And the best part is that when he's inside, the cord is connected to him, and that's where he gets his food and energy from the mother. In that tenth of the second of the labor, of the delivery, all the open holes in the body of the baby that get energy from the mother, somehow, out of nowhere, a magic, they all closed automatically, and the closed one, such as the mouth, the ears, and other, automatically opens when he comes out. Millions of miracles in less than a second needs to happen that second that the head of the baby comes out. And there are still people in our world that say, Rabbi, Big Bang, explosion. The rabbis, with all the respect, but the rabbi is going to run my life. They just didn't know that the Torah instructed us. Everything the rabbis tell you, you must listen to them. Do not move left or right from one word that they tell you based on this Torah. Not based on their knowledge in the stock market. Maybe you know better than them. Not based on the rabbi's knowledge in sport. We have rabbis like this also. They know every NBA players. He has time to learn about it. Some rabbis know the size of every engine of every Ferrari. I don't know. They have time to learn it. That's not what Hashem said, that you have to listen to them. Everything they tell you about my Torah, you must listen to them because they represent me in the creation. All of you drinks water, right? Every day you drink water. All the material in nature behaves equally. When you heat material, it expands. When you freeze material, it shrinks. There is only one thing in nature that rebel against the law of creation. What is it? Water. Water behaves different than all the material. When you heat water, the water expands. You see steam. It's expanding. When you freeze them, they shrink. Until they get to 4 degrees Celsius, which is like 36, 37. All right? That's already close to freezing. Once they get too close to freezing temperature, they flip to the other side, 180 degrees, and from here on, they begin to expand again, against the law of nature. Why? Very simple. If the water continue to shrink, what would happen to them? The weight of ice is heavier than water. If you take 1 pound of water, 1 pound of ice is heavier. Why? It's called mishkat sguli. I'm not sure how to say it in physics, in English. Density? The density of the ice is heavier than the what? Less. All right. So therefore, if it would freeze, the top of the oceans would freeze and sink to the bottom. And the next layer of the water will freeze and go to the bottom. And the next one, and the next one, they all will freeze and fall right into the bottom. And what will happen? In 1 month from the creation, all the fish will die. And when the summer times come, all that huge piece of ice will melt and go all over the world, and all of us will drown. And in the first year of the creation, we all will die before the world will even started. So in order for the water to behave, to give us water and to give us life, they must behave against the normal rule of creation. The last minute of this lecture, and then I'll give you time for questions. This is the last one for tonight, guarantee. If the Yetzer Hara will not convince me to push another one, believe me, I'm fighting with myself. I also have Yetzer Hara. It was up to me, I would be here until the morning. But that probably will be the last time I'm here. So I told some people, once I gave a lecture from 8:30 until 7:30 in the morning. The longest in the history. I have the Guinness World Record. From 8:30 to 7:30, not one person left. I'm not lying. They sat on the floor. There was not enough chairs in Ocean Parkway in Brooklyn. And the one that arranged this lecture was a famous DJ. His name was E. London. He was making the worst parties in Manhattan. Thousands of people come to make scenes and smoke drugs every Shabbat. And Baruch Hashem, since I gave my heart in that lecture after 11, 12 hours, Hashem had mercy on me and this guy became a rabbi. He left the DJ. Well, you may see him in some of the religious parties. Anyway, so the last thing for tonight, we all know that Passover always falls in the spring. Always. How is it possible? The year of the sun is 365 days. The year of the moon, 354 days. There is 11 days gap between the sun and the moon, which every 3 years approximately move the date by a month. 11, 11, and 11 every year, it's 33 days. It's a month. The Muslims that go by the sun, by the moon, their year is short. The Ramadan, the fast of the Ramadan, one time falls in the winter, and then a few years later goes to the summer. They don't care. The holidays are moving. Christians want Santa to have snow. So they want the snow around December, you know, the birth of J.C. Penney. Even though it wasn't really his birthday. There's a doubt if it was even exists, but that's not the point of. Anyway, so they want snow in that time, which is December. Every 4 years they have February 29. If you're born in February 29, you lose a lot of gifts. Your birthday is once every 4 years. All right, no big deal. Anyway, Hashem told Moshe the Jews go by the sun and the moon. So how are you going to balance the gap? Every 19 years you push 7 more months into the calendar. Every 2 to 3 years the Jewish year have an extra month. Adar Aleph, Adar Bet. Every 19-year cycle the Jewish and the Christian days fall in the same date. Like this, we always keep Passover in the spring. Why we care that Passover will be in the spring? One word in a divine book. Divine has to be perfect. No mistakes. No approximately 99.9%. Divine is 100%. The Torah says, at that time God told Moshe the laws of the renewal of the moon and informed him how he's going to make leap years and decides when is Rosh Chodesh, the beginning of every month, because the Torah says, observe the month of the spring and you make Pesach in it. It must be in the spring. Therefore, in the old days when we didn't have a calendar, 2 witnesses come and they used to testify in a Jewish court that they just saw the renewal of the moon. How did they know to look? They knew according to the rabbi announcement in Shul. On Shabbat in Shul, the rabbis announced this week on Wednesday evening around 5, we should have the renewal of the moon. Please be aware of it. And if you see the renewal of the moon, run to the court and testify that we can announce that it's the first day of the month. Like this, we count 10 days. And in the 10 days, it's Yom Kippur. And then in the 14 days, it's Pesach. That's how they used to do it. 200 people came to the court and they testified that it's Rosh Chodesh. The rabbi was Rabban Gamliel. Remember the one with the telescope? He was the one who's sitting in court. He told them, all of you are wrong. 200, not 2, 200. Rabbi, what's going on? We saw the renewal of the moon. It was a cloudy day. The rabbi told them something that can shock you if you pay attention. Amar Rabban Gamliel. The renewal of the moon, we know from Mount Sinai, it passed from generation to generation from the time God gave us the Torah and the secret of the creation. We never lost this information, this divine information. What is it? The renewal of the moon can never be less then 29 days and a half, and 2/3 of the hour, and 73 parts of the minute. 29 days, we all know what it is. And a half, it's 12 hours. Half a day, right? 12 hours. 2/3 of the hour, it's 40 minutes. 73 parts of the minute, that's what gives us in the end 29.53059. This is the minimal cycle that you will never see the moon renew itself in less than this. Never. Let's see what the scientists have to tell us. This is NASA, the American Agency for Space. This is an original copy from NASA. Right here, Earth-Moon system. The renewal of the moon, according to NASA, 29.530588. The Torah say 590. To 10,000 of a second difference between billions of dollars and thousands of employees.